Hello everyone. You are the survivors after lunch and still here, okay? So, today we're going to have a very quick, I promise, presentation about the future of how the buildings will adopt in new things like AI and how we sell and how we will go from smart to sentient. I teach data analytics and AI at the University of York. I've been there for 10 years and I still have this lousy Greek accent, but you are going to bear with it. So I will start with this. And when you see this, what comes to mind? Okay, we have like military, economic, ecological crisis all over the world. Our Europe has like already a war that is still ongoing after 2 years. We have a war in the Middle East and all these concepts. When you see these images, one thing that comes to mind is uncertainty. Okay, so with my keynote, I would like to move and say that uncertainty is not a bug, it's a feature. Okay. So always in our daily lives, we face uncertainty and we need to understand that uncertainty is a way to go forward. So we need to embrace uncertainty and change and take uncertainty and change on the other hand and move forward to a very new world and create new things from really small things like how we understand new technologies to bigger things on how to create communities, how to create new cities, how to create all this incredible stuff that we are doing. So I'm going to speak about AI. I'm going to give you like 3 really big trends on AI and energy and buildings and sustainability. And the first is to understand what is AI, because we hear a lot that AI is another hype and it's not going to do my work. On the other side, we say that, okay, AI is a huge thing, it's going to destroy us, and all these technologies and robots are coming. So AI is not a tool, AI is a general purpose technology, okay? You need to have in mind that AI is very similar to electricity. Electricity was a general purpose technology, and when we started back to have electricity in the buildings, in the beginning, it was just only light bulbs, okay? It's the same with AI. Everything now is a chatbot, everything is something that we do a conversation with, okay? When we started back then, in order to adopt electricity and understand around electricity, it was the exact same thing. Something that we didn't know that it's working, it was a general purpose technology, it's going to touch every type of interaction of our lives, but back then we said, okay, let's see. One thing that is going to be really fast is the speed of all these changes. And one thing that all we are afraid of is that we are analog minds in digital times. So when we start thinking of these exponential technologies, we say, this is too fast and I cannot understand. Do you know how many years took for television to go to 1 million users? Do we have an answer? So, for television, we needed 50 years, 50 years to go to 1 million users. For Netflix, we went there to 3.5 years. Okay, for ChatGPT to go to 1 million users, we needed just 5 days. Okay, so this type of exponential speed is what makes us as humans uncomfortable. We say, okay, this is going too fast, so I'm going to stay low and understand it first and then adopt it. But right now, the speed of adoption as regards the AI is less than 3 years. So imagine if we have the analogy of the electricity, imagine that took electricity around almost 100 years to have general purpose everything. We still don't have like fully electric cars, or we don't have fully electric plants or stuff like that. So it took them like 100 years, and AI will be adopted like in the next 3. So everything that you do, everything, and when I say everything, is the same. Think again the same analogy. Right now, when you go at home and you push a switch, you don't care if the power comes from the Pilineos or the E or any other power producer. Is the same with AI. When you open your mobile phone, when you open your work laptop, when you open your CRM, ERP, WMS program, whatever program you are working, AI will be there, no matter what. And it's the same when you plug the toaster, when you plug the air fryer, and you just wait to make great toast. So it's the same. AI will be everywhere as an actual general purpose technology. Okay? So we have, as Futurist, one law. You don't have only laws like Maxwell and stuff like that. We have also laws, and it's the law of accelerated returns. What the law of accelerated returns says is right now, with 1,000 euros, we can buy computational power of a human brain. Okay, the human brain does calculations 10 raised to the 16. So with 1,000 euros, you can buy a human brain. With the speed of acceleration that we have now in computational power, in like the next 3 years, with 1,000 euros, we can own a computer or a cloud device or a server that does calculations with the computational power of all the humanity. Okay, so imagine that right now we are in 10 raised in the 26 already. GPT-4 and GPT-5.1 does calculations in this type of speed. So in terms of calculations, we are solved, we're okay. AI can calculate really fast, AI can do all the math, AI can do things like acting, sorting, synthesizing. The things that AI can do is things like empathy, understanding actual stuff, things like fantasy, things like creativity. So we need to start going from acting to empathy, to understanding, to sensing. Because, okay, technology can increase productivity, and there are a lot of us, we say, okay, we will bring an AI in order to do things faster, but we need to understand that we are building solutions for humans, and humans need the human touch, they need all what makes us actual humans. So, we are in times of change, and my favorite philosopher says that in times of change, we need to be with the learners, okay? Because if we are with the knowers, and many of us, we do like bachelor degrees, masters, PhDs, and all that stuff, and we go with a fixed mindset to these new technologies. We say, you know, I'm doing this job for like 25 years, for 35 years. So I know stuff, okay? But these times are not for the knowers. You need to be with the learners, and because you are here after lunch, you are with the learners, okay? So this is Eric Hoffer, and another guy that is not a philosopher yet. We say we need to learn how to unlearn, okay? We need to approach this type of new technologies, this type of new actual general purpose technologies with a mindset that says, I don't know nothing, teach me how to do it, I will touch it from the start and I will try to test it in situations that comes into my everyday life, my work. I will ask and test and speak with an AI every day in my actual day-to-day use, not just work problems, not just sentiments, not just like emails or summarizing something that is too much. So if we start this cycle, we will start adopting and understanding all these technologies, and we will learn with a very brand new mindset. Okay. So let's go to the three major megatrends. Before we go to the megatrends, one of the fathers of foresight, by the way, foresight is a, let's say, new, relatively new science. 50 years ago, we do analysis based on data, but we don't forecast. Okay, we don't predict the future. Forecasting is a different thing. Foresight is the exact opposite. We try to anticipate and prepare for new scenarios. So we read about weak signals, we read about megatrends, we try to learn and anticipate based on what will converge through different technologies, geopolitical pressure, social pressure. So we try to see humanity as a whole and understand what scenarios we need to build in order to be more resilient and adapt and move forward. Because it's okay to try to predict whatever data you have, you cannot predict the future. Okay, so before we start with that, Jim Taylor is one of the founders of foresight and says that any idea about the future, I would say now, should appear to be ridiculous. Okay, so whatever you are thinking about the future must be bold enough in order to be a future-proof idea. Don't start by just doing small steps and say, okay, this is something and we will do an incremental change and it will create something bigger. No, we need to be bold as regards around the future. But let's go to practical stuff. From control to anticipation. Okay, right now, as regards buildings and communities and all the stuff that you build, we have as many data as possible. We are at a point in history that we have a lot of data, we have a lot of panels, we have a lot of sensors, we have a lot of different systems, we have a lot of things, and still we don't have livable spaces. Okay, so we have all this data, we have fragmented silos and things and systems that they don't talk to each other, and still we don't have livable spaces, and still we don't have people that they use our spaces and they are happy, because that wasn't the intent when you start building these systems. Okay, so we are going to get from smart, and I would like to ask you that today, with all these cognitive capacity, with all these training data sets and AI, is smart buildings enough? No, it's not enough. We need to go to actionable things. We need to go to anticipation. We need to go to start understanding and be more proactive. All the systems and all the smart systems inside the building is a reactive thing. Okay, if something happens, we get an alert. If an electricity bill goes higher, we get an alert, and that's it. Now, with AI, we can do a lot of reactive stuff. So we start and thinking, okay, we will get all this data, and all this data will make a decision, a better decision in order to be more reactive. So we go from just controlling all these buttons and dashboards and smart metering and all the systems to anticipating the actual needs of humans. Because if we don't anticipate the actual needs of humans and we are not reactive, we don't build livable spaces. We build just boxes for people to be there. and they want to go out to nature or to other boxes. So first big megatrend is we get all the data outside of the system, we feed it to an AI, and we move from how we are going to build a system to how we are going to evolve a system and how we are going to train a system. So far, when you approach a smart building, you approach it as a project that has a start and an end, and you deliver the system, and that's it. And of course, you can control all these things. But now we can, with low cost, because AI is the fastest depreciating asset on planet. Okay, every day the price goes down. Okay, the electricity bills and the water goes up, but the price of actually using AI goes down. So we need to start thinking not in actual systems that we're going to deliver, but in systems that they are going to learn, and how these systems will evolve, and after 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours of use, they're going to be smarter and better and more actual, adaptable to the environment. Come on. From efficiency to resilience, okay, we tend to have our minds in terms of energy, and energy in a building is always about efficiency. Okay, how to be more efficient, in many cases around the building, how to be more productive, how to be a part of a set limit. So we need to drop this mindset and adopt a new mindset around resilience. A building is not just one thing, it's not a separate unit. A building is a part of an ecosystem. So we need to start thinking around ecosystems, and we need to start thinking how AI can give us all the small details around the way that we build in order to create resilience. Okay, we need to start building in a resilient future. We need to start thinking in new terms and not just say that, okay, I will create a new material, or I will use this new material in order to make an efficient system, or in order to create an efficient building, or an energy efficient building, or a passive building, or whatever. You need to move a bit further and start thinking in terms of resilience. Because part of the ecosystem, in the slide that you saw earlier, in a very volatile world, with all these pressures, with all these wildcard events or black swans, as Simon Taleb says, we need to be proactive and start thinking in terms of resilience. We must create and enable resilient buildings in order to have resilient communities, in order to go down to the actual humans and enable them to be more resilient in our system. So the trend is that we go from efficiency to resilience. And the concept from smart to sentient. Okay, I know it's a bit far-fetched, but as Jim Gator says, we need to be bold. Okay, so now we have a very big opportunity with AI to use analytics in order to have actual sensing. Even if we are not, let's say, the #1 AI expert, or we don't want to hire someone from Google or OpenAI. Even now, one great thing about all these synthetic brains is that they can easily understand emerging patterns. So if you have some kind of time series, if you have some kind of analytic systems, and you have a very long spreadsheet around numbers, you can use right now a very classic model like ChatGPT-5 or ChatGPT-4 or Claude or Gemini or whatever to analyze for patterns. And then you will understand that when you start feeding this system with these big numbers that you understand like 2, 3, 4, 5 KPIs, and this is okay, this system can understand more than KPIs. can understand patterns that they are hidden inside the numbers. So we can do this type of systems, not just to have like another and a better dashboard, okay? Not just to have another KPI or find something that is another number to be measured, but in order to create the environment for a more resilient and livable architecture, a more resilient and livable actual spaces, okay? And we can measure things that in many cases we count them in the beginning, like presence and how people are interacting with all this, and all these little single points that we tend to neglect when we do, in the beginning, a big study on how to create the building, or we do some kind of upgrade to the building. Okay, so we need to understand that with all that pressure, we live in a world that right now we have huge climate pressure. We have AI-driven worlds, and in an AI-driven world with such a climate pressure, we need to start thinking in better terms. So finishing, I want to say that the future doesn't come as a light bulb, okay? You don't hear a huge crash and you wake up in the future. The future comes like my cat that the AI created, really slow. Really slow, and as the cat's coming to the living room, really slow, we all change. Our needs are changing, our materials are changing, we have new types of approaches, humanity understands better physics and all these new things that they make us new people and new humans that we face all these change. So we always need to have in mind when we are doing all this stuff, we need to have in mind the space between. Okay, the space between the technology, the shifts, the new materials and all the things, and the actual humans that they will live within this. So every time we design something, every time we think, every time we do it, even when we do project management, we need to have in mind the space between the humans that they will use this type of spaces, this type of systems, this type of AIs, and the actual technology and the purpose of all this. And this space between will come from the ideas of humans in this room. Thank you very much.